In the previous lecture, we discussed advanced methods for counteracting afflictions, direct observation, such as directly looking at anger or desire. When one looks directly at anger, it disappears. Anger is empty in nature and can return to its natural state of emptiness. However, this method is not suitable for beginners or those with insufficient capacity. It is like treating an illness. This medicine is ineffective for them. Although it may seem excellent and direct, it may not work for everyone. So don't think, this method is good, so I no longer need the basic methods. It is necessary to follow the stages of the path. Beginners can use the correct view of karma to counteract anger. When you reflect that anger harms both yourself and others, and that you will experience its karmic consequences and fall into the 3 lower realms, especially hell, your anger immediately subsides. Isn't using the right view of karma to counteract afflictions very quick? As soon as you reflect on the law of karma, coarse anger can be eliminated immediately, and you will not get angry again. If you recall that anger is a cause for falling into hell, would you still choose to get angry? Only a fool would do so. Of course, as your practice advances, you need to let go of the knowledge of karma and the attachment to it. Thus, more advanced methods are needed to deal with attachment to phenomena. When using the right view of karma to counteract anger, you may also develop an attachment to the law of karma. If you cling strongly to it, it becomes difficult to overcome attachment to phenomena. Therefore, more advanced antidotes are necessary. Please remember that at the beginning of Dharma practice, antidotes are essential. I support this progressive approach. Methods that skip all the stages will not lead to spiritual progress. There are 3 main categories of Vipassana: the Vipassana of the 4 natures, the Vipassana of the 3 doorways, and the Vipassana of the 6 investigations. The Vipassana of the 4 natures is described in the explanation of the View Sutra and in Asanga's Compendium of the Abhidharma. In this system, there are 2 categories of Vipassana: differentiation and complete differentiation. Each of these categories has 2 aspects: examination and analysis. So, there are 4 subcategories. Differentiation involves the understanding or prajna that can distinguish between various phenomena. Complete differentiation is the understanding that distinguishes the true nature of all phenomena. It is deeper than the first one. Examination is gaining an understanding of something on an obvious level, that is, its appearance. Analysis is gaining an understanding on a subtle level. Differentiation can be divided into examination and analysis, and complete differentiation can also be divided into examination and analysis. The Vipassanas of the 4 natures are differentiation through examination, differentiation through analysis, complete differentiation through examination, and complete differentiation through analysis. This is the sequence. But in the explanation of the View Sutra, each of these 4 categories is further divided, resulting in 16 subcategories in total. The 4 Vipassanas are divided further. The first category, differentiation through examination, is divided into 4 degrees of examination. Precise examination, which means the examination is done very well. Definitive examination, which results in a more complete understanding. Perfect examination, which is even more complete. And essential examination, which is the most complete. Each of the 4 Vipassanas has these 4 degrees, resulting in 16 subcategories in total. In the Compendium of the Abhidharma, Asanga described these 4 Vipassanas in terms of their effect or function. He described the first 2, differentiation of phenomena and complete differentiation of phenomena, as remedies for negative propensities and the conceptualization of phenomena. The conceptualization of phenomena refers to the defiled view that regards phenomena as truly existent. After conceptualizing phenomena, one comes to regard them as real. Negative propensities refer to afflictions or karma. The last 2 Vipassanas, through examination and through analysis, eliminate what needs to be eliminated, such as mistaken beliefs about phenomena. With these removed, one can rest in an unmistaken understanding. Mistaken beliefs about phenomena refer to the conviction that things are truly existent, which makes it hard to eliminate cognitive obscurations, attachment to phenomena. There are 16 subcategories in total. The second level of categorization is based on the degrees of observation. Each of the 4 Vipassanas is divided into 4 degrees or depths of observation: precise, definitive, perfect, and essential. Vipassana is a kind of wisdom. These belong to what we call analytic meditation, which can be categorized in such fine detail. For a single phenomenon, we can carry out 16 levels of analytic meditation. Each of the 4 types has 4 depths. After observing phenomena in this way, one eventually gains a complete, accurate, and thorough understanding. That is, one generates a firm conviction. Analysis and differentiation are intellectual activities, and what is gained through them is conviction, which can be divided into 16 levels. The first level has 4 categories: differentiation through examination, differentiation through analysis, complete differentiation through examination, and complete differentiation through analysis. The second level of categorization has 4 depths: precise, definitive, perfect, and essential. This analytic meditation corresponds to the stage of hearing and contemplating the Dharma, especially contemplation. After enlightenment, one needs to practice in a different way, to habituate to wisdom. For example, when practicing the Vipassana of the natures regarding no self and persons, one first differentiates it through examination, then differentiates it through analysis, followed by complete differentiation through examination, and finally complete differentiation through analysis. Through such comprehensive observation of no self and persons, we gradually gain deeper insight into its nature. That is why it is called the Vipassana of the natures, seeing things as they truly are. In this process, we can gradually generate unwavering conviction without doubt and then realize non-self. With this wisdom, it becomes easier to deal with afflictions and self-grasping. Still, one needs to counteract self-grasping because even after realization, one's habitual tendencies remain. Habituation to wisdom is necessary both before and after enlightenment. Therefore, the Vipassana of the natures is important. The first two types primarily counteract negative propensities and the conceptualization of phenomena. The latter two types eliminate what needs to be eliminated, such as mistaken beliefs about phenomena. The function of the latter two differs from that of the first two. The explanation of the View Sutra describes the Vipassana of the three doorways. The second categorization of Vipassana is called the Vipassana of the three doorways. In this sutra, Maitreya asks the Buddha, how many kinds of Vipassana meditations are there? The Buddha replies that there are three kinds. The first one arises from reflecting on conceptual characteristics. It refers to analytic meditation. If one meditates, for example, on non-self, one doesn't simply think about non-self, but contemplates its reasons, proofs, and characteristics. We are familiar with this Vipassana because we regularly meditate on non-self based on the essentials for purifying the mind. As we often emphasize, first meditate on the composite nature of the aggregates, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Through such meditation on multiplicity, we can recognize the absence of self. This is contemplating the reasons for selflessness. Then, shift to another perspective. Reflect on impermanence, especially the impermanence of body and mind, which is also a reason for selflessness. Finally, contemplate that we are driven by other factors without genuine autonomy. This is also a reason for non-self. Each of these three reasons can lead to the conclusion there is no self. This is reflecting on the reasons, proofs, and characteristics of non-self. We should contemplate not only the reasons, but also the proofs and characteristics of non-self. By reflecting on these points repeatedly and thoroughly, one develops a firm understanding of selflessness. The insight arises from contemplating the conceptual characteristics of things. It is very important. This is the first of the Vipassana of the three doorways. Beginners usually practice Vipassana at this level. Many people don't know how to meditate or what Vipassana entails. They think it means directly seeing something, but that is not the case. The method we discussed earlier is analytic meditation, just from a different angle, and the Vipassana of the natures mentioned before also includes it. Examination, analysis, and differentiation are all processes of contemplation, only named differently. The Vipassana discussed earlier in the Compendium of the Abhidharma is called the Vipassana of the Four Natures. The explanation of the View Sutra describes the Vipassana of the three doorways, explaining it from a different angle. though the descriptions may seem different, they are essentially the same. The Vipassana of the three doorways is also explained clearly. This is the first of the three methods, like the first doorway that leads to the state of Vipassana. The second of the Vipassanas of the three doorways needs the insight that arises from investigation. After developing certainty from the first doorway, one rests the mind in it. This is the second doorway. Resting in this certainty is the second doorway. As we often say, through reflecting on the reasons for selflessness, we arrive at the conclusion of selflessness and then abide in it. After confirming non-self through reasoning, one abides in this certainty. This is a state. Abide in this conviction and continually habituate to it. This is the second doorway that leads to Vipassana. By resting in this conviction without letting it fade, we can counteract self-grasping. Since we have self-grasping, we use the certainty of non-self to counteract it. The third doorway arises from analysis. Through familiarization and habituation to the certainty of selflessness, one rests directly in the understanding of selflessness. As one gradually becomes familiar with and accustomed to the certainty of non-self, one can abide in it at any time. Therefore, after reaching the third doorway, one no longer needs to start from the first one. After practicing to a certain level, one can directly begin with the third Vipassana. Since one is familiar with and accustomed to the conviction of non-self, one can easily rest in it. As soon as one sits, one can directly abide in the selfless state. At the second doorway, one cannot directly rest in this state. There is a process. Only after confirming the insight that arises from the first Vipassana through investigation can one abide in it. Upon reaching the third doorway, having become familiar with the conviction of non-self, one can rest in it directly without going through the process of examination, analysis, and contemplation again. In the second Vipassana, one still needs to observe before abiding. In the third Vipassana, this is no longer necessary. One can rest in this state directly. Once familiar with and accustomed to the conviction of non-self, one can abide in it directly. This requires concentration. If one can enter desire realm concentration or the first dhyana of the form realm during meditation, one can engage in these practices. The mind should be tranquil, that is, obedient, following directions, unlike the monkey-like mind of ordinary beings. So, the samatha taught earlier is also to help us practice Vipassana. These Vipassana methods sound easy, but in practice the mind is often filled with chaotic thoughts, completely untamed. So, we first need to tame the mind until it becomes like the white elephant illustrated earlier. At that point, practicing Vipassana becomes easy. We are now learning Vipassana, but without samatha, it is impossible to practice it. The mind is distracted. One moment it thinks about what happened yesterday, the next about dreams, then about someone's faults. Then arises desire, then jealousy. This is the state of an ordinary being's mind. This state is unacceptable. Such individuals should earnestly repent and cultivate renunciation and bodhicitta. Only after karmic obstacles are removed can one practice samatha and vipassana. Without clearing karmic obstacles, one cannot practice samatha or vipassana. These teachings sound easy, but when you try to sit, your mind may be full of afflictions. So, how can you practice samatha and vipassana? You cannot calm the mind, meditate on the teachings, or absorb the dharma. Why do I guide you in practice? When I guide you in listening to the dharma, at least your afflictions temporarily don't arise. While listening to the teachings, you can transform your afflictions. With a teacher's guidance, you can progress faster. If you practice on your own, you might not even purify a small portion of your karmic obstacles after 1 or 2 years.